Hey everyone, and welcome to the RottenPop Podcast. My name is Sid Rotten, and I am here bringing you all of the nostalgia that you can handle. Today's theme is Only in Dreams, where we're delving deep into the nightmares of 1984, and we're talking about 3 films that are going to make you think twice about closing your eyes. Number 1 is Soul Survivor. Number 2, The Initiation, and the third, the granddaddy of them all, A Nightmare on Elm Street. So stay tuned.
I've never seen anything like it.
The retribution of tormented souls is about to be unleashed. Soul Survivor. It will never rest alone.
All right, so looking back on March 16th, 1984, it was aside from Soul Survivor being released, which was pretty awesome, great thing for that day, there was a lot of dark clouds hanging over it. There was a shooting, an attempted vigilante attack. Well, it was a vigilante attack. A man by the name of Gary Pluchet ended up waiting in the Baton Rouge airport to confront and kill the man that had abducted and molested his son, and he did it. And that happened on the same day that Soul Survivor was released to theaters. So getting that out of the way, a little bit of dark news there, some dark hanging clouds. But other than that, as for Soul Survivor, this movie was terrific. It was a fantastic horror movie that had this really eerie tone to it, kind of like the tone that I set off here with this story about Gary Peluche. But either way, so Soul Survivor has this really eerie Twilight Zone vibe to it that was clearly ahead of its time, and it paved the way for movies like Final Destination. And imagine that you are the only one that survives a plane crash, but fate doesn't, it's not done with you, and it's coming for you, and it will come for you no matter what. It's a great concept. It's beautifully shot on 35mm. Director Tom Eberhardt nailed it, even though it was his first feature film. Alright, so here's the kicker. Soul Survivor has this indie, low-budget charm to it. It looks like $1 million. I mean, the practical effects that are in this movie are really good. And that clip that I showed right there, I couldn't show the gore, but the gore is amazing. It was shot on 35mm, and it gives it that top-tier cinematic quality that you just wouldn't expect from a low-budget movie. And the lead, Anita Skinner, is a revelation. She's fantastic. She's tremendous. At first I wasn't sold, but she delivers a powerhouse performance carrying the film with her raw emotional range. It's a damn shame that she stepped away from acting because the studio was meddling with this movie so much. Hollywood really lost something that could have been fantastic.
This is gonna sound weird, but it isn't the creep in the garage or the police or the accident this morning. It's something, I don't know, it's something in the air. I feel like I'm about to be caught.
So why haven't you heard of Soul Survivor? Well, like I was saying before, there was a lot of studio meddling. The cast and crew had a really bad taste in their mouths after this movie came out, and it's a shame because even though the studio had messed with this movie so much, it's still really entertaining, and it has a really good rewatch value, and it's really interesting to see where movies like Final Destination and stuff like that had come from. This movie definitely deserves a lot more love. It's suspenseful, it's a thrilling ride, it keeps you on the edge of your seat. Those are all cliche, but this really does that. And it has a few confusing bits, again, probably thanks to the studio meddling, but confusion and absurdity is right at home with these 80s movies, and that's why I love the 80s so much. Overall, Soul Survivor is a solid movie. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars, well above an average film. Check it out. Next, we're stepping into the world of sorority slashers with The Initiation. But hold on, this one is a bit different, as it ditches the usual tropes and it goes for like a psychological horror element instead of what we're usually used to. We've got repressed memories, creepy dreams, and of course some good old-fashioned murder. Daphne Zuniga, who you might recognize as the future Princess Vespa from Spaceballs, makes her debut in this film, and she shines despite the material that she's given. It's a shame that the script and the plot don't give her a chance to show out more, considering this is her debut film. She was in another movie before this. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, but it was just a quick role, really nothing... like a blink and you miss her kind of role. The rest of the cast, including veterans like Clu Gulager, who's best known for his role in my personal favorite movie, or zombie movie, Return to the Living Dead, and Vera Miles, the iconic star of Psycho and its sequel, both of which we've reviewed in the archives, go back and see those, are left stranded. Gulager's performance is frustratingly brief, we don't get a lot, and Miles spends most of the film in a near catatonic state. It leaves little room for her to showcase her talent, really.
I have this dream. It's a recurring nightmare, actually. And I've had it ever since I was a little kid, and I've been having it a lot.
What we're left with is a bit of a mixed bag, a messy slasher flick sprinkled with some half-baked psychological elements. The dream sequences are more bizarre than terrifying, the plot's riddled with holes you could drive a truck through, and the pacing is as erratic as a caffeinated squirrel. But hey, at least there's a killer Halloween party thrown in for good measure, right? The climax is set in a deserted mall, and it had the potential to be really thrilling, but it's so damn convoluted and hard to keep up with. And while the kills are bloody, they lack visceral impact that you'd expect from a slasher. It's almost like they were holding back. And I could see why, considering that the director for this movie did some made-for-TV stuff before this. In the end, The Initiation is a fun, campy watch for a rainy afternoon, but it's not something that you're going to be rushing back to. I gotta give it a generous 2 stars out of 5, mostly for the unintentional laughs and that awesome Halloween party. I love seeing 80s people in costume. I don't know what it is. And now the grand finale, the piece de resistance, the one you've all been waiting for, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Wes Craven didn't just hit a home run with this one, he blasted it into another dimension. There are rivalries online back and forth about which movie is more iconic, A Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th, and people are going back and forth and they're going crazy, but if you ask the crew of the RottenPop, I'm gonna tell you right now, we think that it is A Nightmare on Elm Street, as it is just more of an original tale, and it is far, far scarier. This is a landmark horror film that redefined the genre and birthed one of the most iconic franchises in cinema history.
Monday at 8, Fox 11's Nightmares Week begins. This is no dream. This is Freddy. This is A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Come to Freddy.
When you close your eyes, the nightmare begins.
This is just a dream. He isn't real.
Say hello to Freddy. Then say goodbye. The original Nightmare on Elm Street, a world television premiere. Monday at 8 on Fox 11. Viewer discretion advised.
This film isn't just a horror movie, it's a symphony of terror, a masterpiece of the macabre. It's got a killer cast headlined by Robert Englund's unforgettable performance as the iconic Freddy Krueger, a boogeyman who will haunt your dreams for years to come. The groundbreaking special effects still hold up today, delivering chills and thrills that'll leave you breathless. The premise? Pure genius. I told you before that it was an original tale, and that's what we're striving to find here at RottenPop, our original tales. Wes Craven taps into our primal fear of nightmares, twisting it into a cinematic experience that's both terrifying and exhilarating.
A él no podía ver si los cortes. ¿Quién diablos lo ha hecho?
The dream sequences in A Nightmare on Elm Street are the stuff of nightmares, literally. Even 40 years later, they retain their power and unsettle and disturb viewers, blurring the lines between reality and the subconscious in a way that'll leave you questioning your own sanity. From the iconic bathtub scene and the heart-stopping moment Freddy's claws stretch the wall above Nancy's bed, these images are seared into the minds of horror fans everywhere. And if you haven't experienced the sheer terror of A Nightmare on Elm Street, then do yourself a favor and watch it. It's a masterclass in horror filmmaking, a perfectly paced thrill ride with an iconic villain and an ending that'll leave you both satisfied and craving more. In the Rotten universe, this film isn't just recommended, it's required viewing. So I'm giving this a resounding 4.5 stars. Watch it. Alright, you rotten freaks, let's wrap up on today's deep dive into the nightmares of 1984. We've journeyed through plane crashes, sorority slashers, and the terrifying depths of the subconscious. If you're looking for a chilling cinematic experience, you can't go wrong with any of these movies. Well, I mean, kind of, I guess, with The Initiation. But like I said before, that one's good for at least a single watch. Soul Survivor and Nightmare on Elm Street, those ones are a chef's kiss. As always, we love keeping score here in the Rotten universe. We are deep in the middle of our 150 movies of 1984. Ongoing with our list of 150 movies, which is only 42 movies right now, we've got A Nightmare on Elm Street, currently reigning supreme at number 1. This movie is 4.5 stars. It is the creme de la creme so far of what we've watched. It's sitting right on top of Prince's Purple Rain, which I also loved. I gave that movie only 4 stars. Nightmare on Elm Street is just more ingenious to me, and I personally think it's just a much better, more interesting movie. It's a testament to its enduring power and influence. Soul Survivor holds its own. It's sitting at number 19, right above Children of the Corn, which is at number 20, proving you don't need a big budget to deliver some big scares. And then The Initiation, while flawed, it still manages to secure a spot at number 31, right below Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo, reminding us that even imperfect films can have their charms. That's all for today's RottenPop Podcast, folks. Until next time, keep it creepy, keep it curious, and remember, always, always, always believe in physical media. Don't let the bedbugs bite.
Let's all go to the lobby.